Every person carries a story. Stories shaped by choices, by struggle, by growth. This is where those stories are told. This is the power of human stories.
Welcome to another episode of The Power of Human Stories. Today's guest is Ethan McDowell. He's a good friend of mine. Oh my gosh, probably been 10 plus years that we've known each other.
Yeah, 10 plus, yeah.
Ethan is an American actor and producer working across film and television. He grew up in Lovell, Wyoming, and has been active in the entertainment industry since the mid-2000s. His television credits, which are many and some really cool ones, include appearances on HBO's The Righteous Gemstones, The Walking Dead, DC's Doom Patrol, Marvel's Miss Marvel, among other projects. He's also known for his work in the long-running science fiction series Space Command, where he plays Captain Jack Kemmer, a role he's returned to across multiple installments as the project has developed over time. In addition to acting, Ethan has worked as a producer, contributing both on screen and behind the scenes to independent and serialized productions. Ethan, thanks for being here. Welcome to The Power of Human Stories.
Thank you very much, Rolando, man. It's an honor. It's an honor to be a part of it.
Yeah, so like I said, me and you met 10 plus years ago, I think, due to a mutual friend of ours, Mike Ortiz, which he may end up on this podcast at some point.
He should.
Yeah. And we met when we were doing production for one of Vega Productions' early short films. It was definitely like a fun project to be a part of in the science fiction universe that Mike created. It just enveloped world.
Yeah,
it was
expansive. It has characters all across the map. Is very, very in depth.
That became Downward, and you became the lead at Downward. So you were in central Pennsylvania with a bunch of college students shooting this like DIY sci-fi movie in the woods.
I loved it, man. I loved it. Yeah,
you looked sick in the costume, though.
I felt tough. I felt real tough.
Yeah. It was an epic time. It almost feels like a whole nother life.
It does. Well, it almost is, man. Yeah, it's a long time ago. Yeah,
and a lot's changed. Yeah, and a lot's changed since then. And I think that's why I was like, I need to get Ethan on the podcast, because first, I want to catch up with him and hear how his career's unfolded, because I've watched on the sidelines. I've watched you be a part of like some pretty awesome productions, and I'm in the back of my mind, I've always wanted to just dig in and ask you all these questions about what's it's been like. And before we get to that, which we're going to get to that, because I think that's the juicy part of your career, I want to start. I don't think I've ever sat down with you and actually just heard your story from like the beginning and where you grew up, and ultimately like what was your world early on back in Wyoming?
Yeah, well, so my mother grew up in California. My dad grew up in Oregon, and they met in a small town in, do you know where the Antelope Valley is, just north of Los Angeles? So they were living there, and my dad got a job opportunity to move to middle of nowhere, Wyoming, in a sense. And they said, yeah, let's take it. Fast forwarding, we kind of moved all across Wyoming just when I have an older brother as well. Just when we were growing up, we finally landed in Lovell, which is at the time was 2,300 people total. So I graduated with like 63 kids, and the whole high school had, I think, like 400 something kids and all that stuff. So just growing up, the film industry and everything like that was pretty much just what you watched on TV, and that's as far as we knew. But where my kind of passion for film and all that stuff kind of started was through high school. We had an English class where we had to do a book report. And in the book report, you could get your little group together. And we asked the teacher, I said, hey, her name is Mrs. Kummerfeld. And I said, Mrs. Kummerfeld, could I, could me and my buddies just do a short film version of this? It's a short story called The Lottery, which if you haven't seen it, it's kind of dark, but it's very good. And she actually rolled the dice and said, yeah, I'll let these Yahoo kids go out into the world during school hours and make some terrible short film. And we did that. And that literally kind of sparked it for me. I was just like, we're just running around, just like what we were doing in Pennsylvania on Downward. We're just running around in a field, making each other laugh and having a good time. And I thought, if there's ever a possibility that I could do this forever, I want to try that. But that's kind of where that whole thing started.
Wow. And after that, like, did you get multiple chances where you were, or did you have to move to like explore this?
Yeah, well, so it was, I think growing up in a small town, I don't know if it's across the board for everybody, but I really felt like it was never a possibility. So that's about as far as it went, was just doing that short film, a couple other short films. I went to the University of Wyoming, got a degree, got my bachelor's degree in kinesiology. So yeah, I was going to be a physical therapist, or I was thinking like a physician's assistant and going the proper route. My brother was out in California, where my mom actually grew up, in Lancaster, California.
Okay.
So I moved out there. I was living with my grandmother at the time. She had a friend who was doing a play, and she said, "Hey, do you want to be a stage runner on a play?" And I said, "I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is." Well, so from that whole thing, I was always shooting short films with my friends, but never taking school as serious as I should have been. So when I moved to California, I got in that little play and saw how many people are just having fun. And I was never in theater, really. Nothing, no acting, no nothing, just watching films and loving it. And then, yeah, a woman in the crowd came in. She said, "Hey, I need a cop and I need a waiter for a show called Guys and Dolls." And I said, "I don't know what that is." She said, "It's a musical." And I said, "I can't sing either." And she's like, "Doesn't matter. Just go up there and do this and that." And I said, "Okay, sure." So I show up there, and in that play is where I met my wife.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow. I did not know that story.
Yeah. Yeah, Athena was a hot box dancer, and I was a Cuban waiter.
For some reason, I thought you would have been the cop. Like,
yeah. Well, I was both.
Okay, there you go. You have that. I wondered if the story was going to go like, "Hey, you have a look about you. Have you ever thought about doing X?
Yeah.
Have you gotten that before?"
Not really. You hear stories of like walking down the street, somebody's like, "You're going to be a big star." But yeah, no, it didn't work that way for me.
I think when I met you, I always thought, oh, you have like kind of this all-American, really just good guy vibes. And everybody who knows Ethan is like, that's the vibes he gives off. So I thought, I wonder if he has that ability to transform into that kind of darker, more sinister role if he needs it, or if he'll always play kind of these nice guy roles. And we'll eventually talk about some of the roles you've gotten to play that explore your, the spectrum there. So then you meet your wife. Mm-hmm. What happens next? How does this thing act that you're like discovering you have a knack for? How does it evolve?
Yeah, well, so Athena was also an actor. She had done a lot of theater and things. And we thought, well, if we're going to take it serious, we're so close to Los Angeles, we might as well just move down into the city and really try to pursue it. So I had taken like a random acting class and just trying to figure out what it was. I knew that I wanted to do it. I think one of the hardest things for me, Rolando, is early on I had to admit that I was an actor. Because I carry, and I think a lot of actors have that, or maybe even a lot of creatives, but it's like you're so protective of wanting to put what you work hard on or what you feel that you enjoy out into the world. And for me, it was tough to just, really admit like, hey, I'm an actor and this is what I do. Because every time if you say that, it comes with a whole slew of, like judgments and like, that's a tough road and all that. And everything that everybody says is pretty true, but it's also tough to be like, yeah, I guess like fully committing that I'm an actor. But yeah, anyways,
why do you think that is? Is that an imposter syndrome kind of thing?
Yeah, imposter syndrome. And acting in a way is kind of silly, in a way. It's like forever being a kid, which is also the most endearing part of it, I think. Because I like the idea, like even for like big, scary action scenes, it's just people having fun, playing pretend in the oversee of it all. And I think yeah, kind of an imposter syndrome that filters in. It is kind of like, well, okay, I can do this for now, but then what am I really going to do for when I grow up? And here we are years and years later, and I still haven't grown up, Rolando. I'm still playing pretend.
Is that a self-inflicted pressure, or is that a pressure you felt from parents, from family, from other people?
A mixture of both. Probably, I think all of it's kind of more self-inflicted because of worry and I don't know, man. Forever I've been, like a people pleaser, and that's okay. I think it's kind of genetic. It's just where I grew up. Everybody seems pretty nice, and everybody kind of gets along. Well, it doesn't get along, but you know what I mean.
I know
So
I know what you mean. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So I think a lot of that all filters into it, but I mean, there's always influences from the outside, whether it comes from. Yeah, I mean, just people in standing. So, like, if I say that I'm an actor, there's going to be a conversation. Well, what have you done? Which is fine. That's great. And you say, well, I've done this, this, and that. And then they say, I've never watched any of that. So, then it doesn't matter, but it's just kind of funny. Like, it's always something that will end on kind of a negative note, is what I've noticed. Not like pessimistically, but it's just like, oh, I don't watch TV. Like, oh, okay.
Is that different outside of the major towns, the major movie towns like LA and New York? Like, because if you're in LA, New York, how does that conversation end? Is it, oh, you're just delusional? You're just another person? Because when I was in that town many moons ago, I miss it, but I also don't miss that dread of like everybody's trying to do the same thing I'm trying to do.
Push.
Yeah. In LA, I always sensed, what's your real thing?
Correct.
And then what's your dream thing? I mean, we had my buddy Rob on the first episode. Nashville's like that. Nashville, you're a musician for your passion and you're trying to make that work, but you're also over here like coding or waiting tables or
you're
doing
in tech
something.
Or,
Yeah. What you just described, that negative end to the conversation, does that happen out in LA?
Yeah, I think now it doesn't bother me as much. I think forever it bothered me, but yeah, and not so much negative, but it's more of like, okay, that's great, but what's next? Which is always, everybody always hears that. And that's kind of a cliche that's true because it really is. I think for all creatives, if you want to keep creating, you have to look forward, but then you kind of miss what you're doing at the moment. So that's kind of a tough juggle, but.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, if that makes sense. Yeah.
So then you're in LA. Do you go out and just start, getting rejected? Do you get a lucky break? What does that look like?
You start getting rejected for the rest of your life. Yeah, no, it started with kind of like student films. So like I figured like if there's a way to get in, to start doing student films just so you can kind of learn. And then it's funny looking back, man, like even like how you and I met, like I was doing a bunch of odd jobs, man, which is just the name of the game. But when we met, I was Batman at Six Flags Magic Mountain, which is hilarious to me. Yeah.
You have a Batman Bruce Wayne look to you.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah.
You can pull it off.
Yeah, but it's just kind of funny, man, to be, out there making kids laugh and stuff. And then a guy, Sean Parks, who was the Green Lantern, got a gig at the Hand Prop Room. The Hand Prop Room is a mega prop store for film and television out in Los Angeles. And they have offices all over. But so, yeah, prop shops, you go in, you rent props for TV and film. I was in charge of making sure everything came back fine. I was in the returns department, but it feels like a working, operating museum of television history. So like they have the big giant slabs of cow beef hanging up that's rubber, but that's like Rocky III was punching those things. It's like, whoa, Sylvester Stallone was punching that thing. But anyways, working at that prop shop, I met Natalie Plumley, who was also working with me in the returns department. And she was saying, well, hey, I got a buddy named Mike Ortiz who is kind of looking for a newscaster for Quarry. And it's just kind of a random chain of people being like, hey, can you do this, this, and that? I thought, yeah. And then sure enough, man, I meet you guys. And then from that, it progresses into another production, then another production. Then you just keep going. And then fast forward 10 years, man, here we are. And it's all because of Natalie saying, hey, I got a buddy who's doing a thing. And that's kind of how that all started in LA to get stuff.
That's incredible. So, okay, so you're working the prop room. Were you also doing other student shorts at all?
Yeah. So I would try to get in, just try to learn auditioning and things like that, like going to like UCLA and USC films and AFI films, and you can kind of tell which schools had different approaches towards filmmaking. Like I feel like AFI really took it serious because they were, that was like their thesis project, kind of like what Mitch was doing in Pennsylvania. And then from there, I was on a Western short film or something, and the guy playing the main villain, I was his right-hand man. He said, "Hey, I got an agent who, you might be good for," that kind of thing. Again, people reaching out saying, "Try this, go talk to this person." And I did. I went and talked to the agent, and she signed me, and then I thought, all right, we're off to the races. I'm in the big time now. And then I was with that agent for 7 years, and I think I got 2 things from it, which when you think 7 years is a long time to not be getting much, but I thought that's just how it was. That was like, back then I didn't know the business side of it. Like, well, it is a business, and if it's not working, you got to move on. If it is working, great, you can still expand.
Right.
But yeah, from there, one gig that I got was my first role that, well, sorry, man, I'll go back a little bit.
Go for it. Yeah.
So you were saying like short films. I was doing a lot of that. You get credit, you get your demo reel, you can build up. A lot of it's not great. Some of it's very fun. You meet great people. But I realized, well, I need to kind of learn what being on an actual set is like. So I started doing background work where you go in and, I was in with The Changeling, that was a Clint Eastwood movie with Angelina Jolie and me and some buddies. Just funny, like you're just dressed in the 1920s and walking around downtown LA. It's sunshine and beautiful. They say, all right, camera rolling and action. And all of a sudden the rain starts falling from the sky. It was just a neat experience of like, now there's a little bit more money in this production than the one that we were shooting in the alleyway late at night. But yeah, doing extra work, I feel like I really learned a lot of like the pacing of what TV is like and things like that. And I was doing that to get your SAG card. You have to get X amount of, I don't know if they still do that actually, but you have to get vouchers. 3 vouchers gets you in the union. And then my agent got me just a co-star role. So co-stars, when you have about 1 line, give or take, you're in and out of the scene. Guest stars, when you kind of follows your story a little bit more involved. And then the series regular is who the story's about.
That's great. I mean, you're educating me because I thought those are just like interchangeable terms.
Oh, gotcha.
So,
okay.
So yeah, I haven't been in the main, industry for many, many, many years. So I never got to understand that distinction, especially like, auditioning for talent and stuff. So, all right. So you got a co-star role. Do you remember what that was for?
Yeah, it was called 35 and Ticking. It was a film. It was right before Kevin Hart skyrocketed into superstardom. I think he was already like on his way up. And talented cast, and the director's name is Russ Parr. And it was an audition to be a creepy stalker. There's an NBA basketball player's in a bar like hitting on a girl, and I come in and I'm like being really creepy to the guy. And for me, it was such a big deal because that was my first time, being on a film set. Kevin Hart's there, and I had known that he was like doing funny, like his stand-up and all that stuff. And that was my experience. I had it's called a honey wagon. So a honey wagon is when actors get a trailer, and you sit in your trailer, and you wait, and then they come and get you and say, "Oh, so you're ready for your scene," or whatever it may be. But I had a half honey wagon, so it means you have half a trailer. So
okay.
So I was so excited, like, wow, I really made it. And I had the honey wagon, got changed, came out, did my scene, went back after lunch to change, and they said, "Oh, no, that's not your trailer anymore. You're all done." So I was like, okay.
It's a long ways away from like the trailer village that people like Robert Downey Jr. get.
An actual city that you live in. And
that's apparently what he's been getting on Avengers Doomsday is
not
he
bad.
has a city of trailers where like he invites the co-stars, guest stars to come on and be like, "Hey, you don't get this at your trailer, come on over to mine."
Yeah,
and
check it out. We have a whole barbecue or whatever. Yeah.
So honey wagon, Trailer City. You're somewhere in the middle there.
Yeah. Right in the right sweet spot. I'm in a sweet spot. Yeah. But yeah, it was just always funny, man, to kind of slowly see opportunities progress and progress. But just that feeling of like actually being in a trailer and like kind of seeing what that means as an actor was really interesting to me. But yeah, so it took me doing the background work to get the SAG. That gig got me in, and I think I got paid like, I don't know, $250 or something like that. But then I had to turn around and pay SAG dues, which was like $3,000. So it's like,
oof.
Okay, wait a minute. Just kind of funny at the time because I'm Batman at Six Flags, kind of interesting.
For the record, I think we paid you more than
yes, you
film.
did. Yeah.
We were very proud to pay our actors as a student film back then.
Oh, it was amazing, man. Are you kidding me? But that doesn't go over my head. You know what I mean? Like, you guys are putting money out. You don't have to do that. It was wonderful, man. Yeah.
So, you pay your dues because that means you get in, right?
Right.
You're in. What's next?
Yeah. So I think for every actor, there's that moment, like, to get into the union. I think it's a wonderful thing. Like, it really is, like, how they protect you. And when you can ask any question you need about any contract and all that. That's great. But it's also, as soon as you sign in at that level, you can't do any more student films that aren't SAG. You can't do any independent projects. There's a lot of things that kind of takes your legs out from under you. At least it feels that way. But I mean, if you look more positively at it, it's like, well, just moving on to bigger and better as it goes. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so getting in the union, then you start getting different opportunities. And I remember I booked a Valvoline commercial, which is pretty cool. And that like commercial work is a whole different thing. Everybody's like, oh, don't do commercials. Or people are like, yes, absolutely do commercials. Because financially it's great. It's a quick day and you meet, very, very talented directors that are making major feature film. But it's like opportunities for cinematographers who normally just shoot, actually directing their vision in commercials and telling stories. But that was my introduction into that. And it's also a different kind of animal because it's Valvoline. And Valvoline, believe it or not, Rolando, is a very large company. And they have a lot of people that really want to make sure this is right. So it's neat to see like the suit side of things as well. I don't know if that makes sense, but
that's a nice way of saying that, the suit side of things, because as a producer, I've never made a commercial at the level of Valvoline. So for the record, but the times I have been involved in larger productions, the more cooks in the kitchen, as an actor, that must be a different experience than as someone who has to play a role in the whole thing. As a producer, you're casting, before that you're storyboarding, you're writing, and then at the shoot you're making sure everything goes well. And then in post, it's like you interacting with these people that have an opinion every step of the way. You only have to deal with that on the day of. And but I'm glad that you found that a positive experience where you saw this I'm going to use a nice word, collaborative nature.
Ah, yes, very nice. Yes.
Of a lot of people with a lot of opinions. So you see that side of the industry, commercial work. Does that like make you want to do more commercial work?
It does. Yeah. I think that definitely made me want to do more, just larger projects as a whole, because I understand like it all kind of comes down to money is what can make things happen. Like there's differences between having an actual crane shot, with a camera coming in as the car drives by and explodes versus, okay, we don't have a car, we don't have a crane, we have, ooh, look at that, there's a popsicle. We can use this popsicle stick for a weapon, whatever. I don't know if that makes sense, but I definitely wanted to move forward and learn that aspect. So that's where like kind of producing came along for me. Like you're producing stuff much higher level than what I'm doing, sir.
I don't know, buddy. Everybody has this idea of what we do, and I am humbled. On the last podcast, Ronnie and I talked about that I think everybody has perception of other people and what they're up to. And I look at other people and think, wow, those people are really doing amazing stuff. So I'm humbled. So you got into producing or got interested in it.
Yeah. So then that's when working at the prop shop at the same time and all of that, I realized I could start making my own short films and trying to take it more serious. A lot of it, I don't know, man, like for for me, making films, I always wanted to make people laugh, whether it was comedy or action comedy, all that stuff. But it could be again like self-judgment, but me going back and looking at it, I'm like, oh, it's just not good. I could do better, which is just me kicking myself. But I learned all the ropes. So I realized like, okay, yeah, you don't just show up to a building and just start shooting. You can, sure. But then all of a sudden, what if something happens? So then you realize, oh, okay, so you need actual like location permits and you need to cover all bases just to make sure that, yeah, nobody gets in trouble. We'll all have a good time. Everybody's covered, which is something.
CYA.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's being an actor, you really don't have to worry about that, like you said. So it's funny showing up on set, like even for big productions. Something that always gets me is they're like, oh, everything is fine. You can see the sweat going down their forehead. Everything's fine. Just stay in your trailer, and you can hear people screaming outside, So like that kind of dynamic of they keep the actors safe so we can create and, do what we do. And they don't, because we don't really need to know that the wardrobe truck just fell into a river or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right. Or that, this scene's running late. So you were scheduled to come in before lunch and now, you have to do it after lunch and we didn't have a lunch for you. So you have to sit in a trailer without food for several hours. And then you show up and then you do your thing. And it's like, it's overtime and it's.
Yeah. And it all adds up and all shifts the schedule. And
yes.
Yeah.
So you got interested in that, or at least you got experience in that. What happened? Like, what's the next big thing that happens as you keep exploring, the next step in your career?
Yeah. So going out, like I think like making films for me was a great experience because then you start learning about festivals and things like that. But then I realized like there weren't many opportunities coming in that were like tipping the needle forward in the sense of like bigger and better projects. Yes, I was doing some great indie stuff. I was doing, still doing things that I thought were great and I'm learning and all that stuff. But there was an audition that came through, man. I was still again at the prop shop. An audition came through for like this sci-fi series and it said it was a worldwide talent search that anybody in the world can, you can either do. There was Cadet Bradbury, who's like the pilot and flying stuff, or there's Captain Matt Kimmer.
Matt. Okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So that Matt Kimmer was like the captain of the ship and all this stuff. I thought, well, yeah, I want to be a captain. That'd be cool. So sure enough, my wife helped me out and we shot the audition tape and you send it into the ether and try to forget about it the best you can while crossing your fingers. And for the contest, they had, I think it was over like 7,000 submissions for both roles. And they put it up on a website so you can see like you're in the top 500 or then you're in the top 250. And I was making it through all these lists and I got to the top 20. I was still on the list and I thought, whoa. And the director and writers, they've worked on all kinds of sci-fi things like Star Trek, The Next Generation. They wrote for like He-Man back in the day and Smurfs, like cartoons and Lazarus Man, all kinds of stuff. He's been in the sci-fi realm forever.
That's Mark Zickery, right?
Mark Zickery, yeah. He wrote The Twilight Zone Companion when he was like 22 years old or something. But anyways, yeah, so it was just kind of a big deal that from the comfort of my own home, I could submit a tape and hope for the best. But it made it to the top 20 and then it released to the top 5 and I wasn't on the list anymore. So it's like, oh, it's kind of a bummer, but still an amazing thing for an actor. And then you just forget about it, move on. But after the list dropped, all of a sudden there was an email in my mailbox and it was from Mark, the director. And he said, hey, Ethan, we really liked your tape, but there's another character that we would be, if you're interested in possibly playing this, it's kind of a smaller character named Jack Kimmer. So it's Matt Kimmer was technically Jack Kimmer's great grandson or something in the timeline of this whole thing. I thought, oh, that looks cool. And then I met and we did like a callback thing and we're doing like fight scenes and there's a spaceship set and I'm blowing my mind like, what is going on? This is crazy. And sure enough, they had a thing. It was like a final read. And I met with Mark and Elaine Zickery in a cafe where they were just saying like, all right, well, so we have these scenes. It's between you and another guy. If you want to read through this, I said, yeah, sure. So in a restaurant, I do my little, my audition and one's like a kind of a funny speech from the first film, and they reached across the table and shook my hand and said, "Hey, yeah, you're the guy." So my mind was blown, and they said, "Well, what are you doing this weekend? Because we have a panel to reveal the winners of the Worldwide Talent Search at San Diego Comic-Con if you're available." I said, "Yeah, sure." Like, I still get chills, man. Isn't that funny? Got chills. Just kind of neat, man. But yeah, we got the role of Jack Kimmer, and how the schedule shifted. They kind of made the story more about my character because
That's what I was going to ask about, because I know your role as the main role.
Right. Yeah. Originally it was going to be the Matt Kimmer story with like his side of the missions, and I forget why it shifted, but they went back in time to try my character, and then that kind of went from there. But yeah, pretty amazing, man. And then being on set there, like, that was hands down the biggest thing I'd ever done. I was, my very first day, I'm with Doug Jones, who's in.
Love Doug Jones, man.
Yeah, great guy. He's very talented. He's in everything.
Everything. And if you didn't know, you don't know when you're watching him too, because he's like embedded in a creature of some kind, and
Pan's Labyrinth is Shape
Chances
of Water.
Is if it's a tall, skinny creature, it's Doug Jones.
Yeah, and he's the nicest guy in the world, man.
Oh my gosh.
Great guy.
All his interviews I've seen are amazing, and yeah, that's incredible. So you were working alongside, I think, these kind of like big legacy actors that have been in the industry for a while, that have developed their reputation, especially from the sci-fi space. And I'm going to show my lack of like sci-fi TV knowledge here, but Mark Zickery's like resume was just like, especially in the late 90s and early 2000s, it's hitting all the top sci-fi. So he's got all these connections. And because of that, he has all these connections. And as an outside observer on all this, because I was kind of riding your Space Command wave when we were making Downward.
Yeah, it was all timed up. Yeah,
because we were making Downward, and I'm like, oh, this guy that's our lead, he's in this big thing. Let's talk about that. And I was watching, it was also a crowdfunded experience too. So I'm watching Mark like do the thing on a much larger level that we're doing, because we were crowdsourcing our film.
The same time, yeah.
And he's doing like really fancy things like having investors shares and all that stuff. And but I see the people he's pulling in from his network, and it's such a cool, I think, example of when you do good work over time, even if you're not in the limelight. Like a lot of people don't know who he is, but he knows so many people. He did great work, great guy. He was able to kind of call in his favors.
Yeah.
And because of that, he got some really cool people like Doug Jones, like Robert Picardo, Michael Harney. He played your dad, right?
He's my dad. Yeah. All those guys, great people too, man. Just talented folks, like you said, that have a legacy about them. But sorry, man. Go
yeah. So and you got to work with Mira Furlan, right?
Yeah.
Before she passed away.
Yeah, right? Lovely human being, man. Lovely human being.
Yeah, for those that don't know, she was in Lost, right? She played she
was Rousseau, I think was her name.
Rousseau,
yeah.
So you're in this set, you're about to be surrounded by these actors. What are you thinking? Like,
no, it was nuts. It was nuts. Yeah. For me, it was really surreal, man, because it is like you said, like I feel like for Space Command, because it's crowdfunded, like it really is kind of at the time was like a new thing that everybody was kind of trying. And the fact that he did it at such a level that, like, I don't know, man, we pumped out a 2-hour feature film out of that was fully crowdfunded. So it's like people, like you said, that cared about projects that he'd been on, who love Robert Picardo and Star Trek, who follow all these people's careers. They just want to see them in things. And for me,
he even had J.J. Abrams do like a little bit of an endorsement at one point too.
Yeah, he wrote a book with Guillermo del Toro called The Cabinet of Curiosities, which is very cool. It's like sketches and things that Guillermo did, but he was hanging out with Guillermo, but sure enough, there's a little tidbit of Guillermo saying like, I really love it. It's just cool, man.
Yeah. Wow.
But yeah, really, really surreal for me, man, just to be a part of all that. And then to be the vehicle, like the main character, then it goes back into like that kind of that imposter syndrome because like I just shot the audition in my living room, you know what I mean? And now I'm hanging out with, Bill Mooney he was in the Twilight Zone, man. He
Yeah.
worked with Alfred Hitchcock. You know what I mean? He's a legend. But yeah, it very surreal for me though, man.
And it
Very
was the
surreal.
start of not just one project, right? It was the start of, I think, a trilogy. Or
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of progressed, man. So we shot it as a 2-hour feature. It's called Space Command Redemption. And they realized like, well, if we shoot more, we can either separate them into 1-hour episodes or we can keep them as collective films. So we shot them as films. That first one happened and then they were gearing up. They thought, okay, well, we have another idea. And they were trying to think of like what kind of a storyline to connect and all this stuff. And some things happened. And I got the phone call. I think I was at a meeting again, same restaurant where they shook my hand, say, hey, let's go to Comic-Con. I was at one of the team meetings. And because we were kind of discussing, well, what's the future of Space Command? Because I was pretty much done. I thought that was my story, and they'll go into Matt Kimmer's stuff, my great-great-grandson or whatever. But they thought, well, what if we fast forward just like 2 years and we could still follow Jack's character and all this stuff? So I'm like, oh, that sounds great. But so they gave me another shot, man, to come back aboard, and we had the same crew back in and tell another 2-hour adventure. And that could also be, episodes 3 and 4, breaking that up. And then from there, they continue to go on and on and on. And then they're going now in both directions. They got like an animatic of Mike Harney's character, and it's really cool, man. Just kind of like what Mike Ortiz is doing with Breeze, like just expanding the entire universe that we were once a part of, man, and downward.
It's the ability to just kind of explore different mediums. I think a lot of series have done that. I mean, it's hard as consumers sometimes to keep up with
There's so much,
like, especially when things are canon, like when like Star Wars does these comics after, the latest episode to explain some backstory and gaps, why Palpatine's alive or something. And it comes out in a comic, and then that's canon. And then as a fan, you don't engage with that. Sometimes that's a hard thing to do, but as a creative, it gives you another avenue when funding is not there, or you just want to explore a different medium. And I'm seeing a lot more of that, of mixed mediums exploring these intellectual properties. And because people are wanting to engage in the right circumstances, for sure.
Yeah, and if you're liking the stories and the characters, the fact that you can like get a graphic novel or something to explore that further, man, I think it's a cool opportunity. Or even like this with podcasts, man, you can go on podcast adventures and then hear more stories. Just cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I mean, when I started this, I was like, does the world really need another podcast? Because it seems like
we do, Rolando. We do.
Thanks for your encouragement, man. Because
you better believe it.
It's 2026, and I think if it was 10 years ago, oh my gosh, it'd be such a novel idea. But when we get to sit down with people like you and just hear like, wow, this is what it's like. It's one thing to make assumptions from somebody's IMDb page,
right?
And it's another thing to hear it firsthand and hear how people are just normal humans that are just doing really great work together. And I'm sure there's some juicy stories along the way,
Sure. Yeah.
So you do Space Command.
Yeah.
What does that turn into for you? Is that a launching pad, or is that just another step in the journey?
Originally it felt like a launching pad, man, just because of the amount of attention that it was getting. And then because it was crowdfunded, like we're still technically shooting Space Command, it's been, I don't know, man. Yeah. Like we said, like probably 10, 12 years, something like that. But so it wasn't quite the launching pad that I thought that it was going to be, which doesn't matter though, because I would not give those experiences back for anything. Some of my best friends now are from that production. It's really, really cool. But yeah, so after that we were back to the grind, and we had one of my buddies, Brian McClure, man, he's from Space Command. He plays Cadet Bradbury. He had moved out to Atlanta, Georgia, and he was saying like, hey, you really should like kind of look into this. Like there's a market here. It's kind of booming a little bit. There's been a nice market in Atlanta, Georgia for a long time, just dealing with productions. And TV shows and things like that. And Athena and I, my wife and I were just like, all right. She was kind of like, let's get out of here. I said, yeah, okay. We're just, we're working 8 jobs apiece.
And to be clear, Athena is also acting.
Yeah.
In the background, not in the background, like doing her own. I saw her on TV. I was like, wait.
Yeah.
I was like
so
that
cool, man.
DiCaprio meme. Like that's, that's Athena, So
yeah, man.
Just to give some backstory there, she's landing roles too, right?
Oh yeah, big roles, man. She's in a show called George and Tammy opposite Michael Shannon, if you know who that is. But in that room, in the scene, is Walton Goggins, is Steve Zahn, is who else? It's just a big room full of big stars, and my wife's just toe to toe with them. It's wonderful, man. It's unbelievable.
Oh man.
Yeah, but yeah, so that came to be from us deciding, well, let's move to Atlanta and give it a shot. Brian, our buddy, had moved out and kind of set the ground for us, and we even lived like in the same apartment complex as him. We had our little actor community thing there for a bit, and through that we got an agent. Set up a meeting. In Atlanta, Georgia, there was like a much more welcoming, like, what would you say, like not just like a little pod of actors and creatives who were all kind of actually helping each other out. In Los Angeles, it kind of felt like everybody for themselves, a little bit
more cutthroat.
Yeah, kind of cutthroat. And,
I think you can say that. I think LA has that culture. It's hard to say it out loud, but it's true. I mean, one thing I could tell, I was an intern there, and I was sitting at lunch one time in Beverly Hills at a Chipotle because that's all I could afford as an unpaid intern.
Yeah, delicious.
Yeah. Meanwhile, there were other people there too, so it's like indicative of the industry. And these agents, again, I don't mean to be people bashing here, but these agents were really discussing the nature of their business and the competitive nature of it. And as a young, bright-eyed, like wanna be filmmaker, I was like, oh my gosh, like,
yeah, turning pale white.
Like, it's just like visceral, like cutthroat nature of competition. And because if you win big.
It's big business, man.
It's hard. So Atlanta maybe could have been probably influenced by that Southern hospitality culture, maybe.
Absolutely, I think, yeah, absolutely, man. It was like people seem more accessible and more helpful, if that makes sense. So there's a casting team called Feldstein Paris. They're big casting directors in the Georgia and the Southeast, and they would do like Twitter meetups, and they'd say, hey, we're going to be at so-and-so restaurant. Come on in, meet us, and say hi. In Los Angeles, that wasn't a thing. Yeah, sure, if you paid, like $200, you maybe say like, here, do this scene. Great job. And then don't let the door hit you on the way out kind of thing. But this, you could legitimately go up and just meet these casting directors who want to meet the actors and see who they are and be like, oh, this, start using their talents to be able to put people in projects where they would fit best. And it was kind of strange timing. We had moved to Atlanta, went to that Twitter meetup, and at the same time, I had gotten a meeting with one of the agencies, and I just asked one of the casting directors. I said, hey, like, what do you think about this agency? They said, oh, they're great. They had gone to college together. So he said, well, yeah, tell them I say hi or whatever it may be when you have your meeting. So then I go into the meeting and I get lucky, and I just, being myself as it is. And again, shake the hand, say, all right, you're in. And then it was off to the races, man. Atlanta, Georgia was it felt unreal to the amount of opportunities that came. So like in Los Angeles, we would maybe have 6 auditions a year that were like real auditions. And that was pretty decent, which is ridiculous if you think about it. Like only 6 for the whole year, man. No, that's not going to do anything. But like the first year, man, was probably, I don't know, like 115 auditions or 120 for the whole year, which is, that's a whole different ball game, man. So you got to be able to, it was a new muscle to learn. Like first, exciting because Athena would have 5 auditions due on a Wednesday and it's a Monday. I would have 3 auditions, one due Tuesday, one due Thursday. So we would just box them all together, and, Athena would have about, 32 pages of dialogue memorized in her brain. I would have, like 15, whatever. And we would just hack it out, and you send the tape off and try to forget it. But it was exciting, and we were working, and it felt wonderful. And then it's still the same business because you don't book all 115 of
Right.
those.
It's a numbers game, but you have more opportunities, but you're still getting a lot more rejections though, too.
Yeah. So that's another mental side of it, is like, oh, how long can I do this for? You know what I mean? But yeah, sure enough, man, I got a phone call. One of the casting directors got me on a show, man. I got, his name's George Pierre, was the casting director, man. He was the first wonderful guy, hilarious, hardworking, and he got me on my very first television show, and it was crazy, man. It was called Star.
Star. Okay.
Yeah. Star was like my first. It was on Fox, so we shot on location in a hospital, and I was Queen Latifah's doctor. I was Dr. Thomas. It was
Dr. Thomas.
crazy, man.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm like hanging out kind of with Queen Latifah. We're walking down a hall and got on an elevator, and she's like, "How's it going, doctor? You can call me La." I'm like, "You're Queen Latifah." It's crazy, man. It was nuts. But yeah, and that kind of set the tone of like, okay, it's possible. We can actually.
There's opportunity here. Yeah. There's the odds are more in your favor, although they're still hard. You felt that like this is happening.
Yeah, it really did, man. It really felt like, yes, it's hard, but we've already been doing it, so it really felt like there's a huge opportunity to do some big things, especially based on auditions that were coming in for mega shows. And then we actually started kind of getting on them, man. It was crazy.
Yeah, I'm looking at your IMDb here, and that was in 2017-ish.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
So, after that, you did a short. You're on the show called Inheritance. You played a paramedic on Dynasty.
Yep.
You're a MacGyver as a guard.
Yeah.
You keep going. I see a lot of law enforcement in your
Yeah. Oh, heavy law enforcement, good and bad across the board. Yeah. But yeah, what's strange about those, man, is like people like connecting with those. So like the Inheritance was actually a film that shot back in LA, and a guy that also played Robin at Six Flags was the lead in that. So that's how I got into that. And then I got some buddies that I was in a sword fighting company with into that as well. So it's just kind of funny how everybody helps each other out.
Yeah, it's all the network,
Yeah. But like for MacGyver, I was working opposite Cheryl Lee Ralph, who's now in Abbott Elementary, who's, an Emmy winner and very talented. But it's crazy to see, had a scene of dialogue with her, just, telling her she can't drive her van up to this mansion. This is so funny, man.
I see here you played Kevin Costner in the Bobby Brown story.
Yeah. Yeah, that was my first experience, man, for like getting lashback on Twitter. That was when Twitter was Twitter before X. So that was my first time of being ripped apart, which is so funny, man. Because I was watching it real time. I think Athena was on a show. Actually, we were filming somewhere. We're on location, and so we're at a hotel watching the Bobby Brown story air live. So I thought, well, I'm going to get on Twitter and see what happens. And sure enough, man, they're like, he doesn't look anything like Kevin Costner. He's ugly. So I thought it'd be funny to chime back in, like, well, I don't know if it's the hair or the suit, but either way, thanks for watching. But it's just funny, man, to be ripped apart over something. Again, just another muscle you have to learn about.
Yeah, and then a couple credits after, I see Ascendance.
Yeah.
So for the audience, it has a prequel, but we shot after Downward.
Movie magic.
Yeah, and that was another brainchild of Mike. After meeting some great folks in New Zealand, he's like, I want to shoot another movie in this universe. In New Zealand, Rolando, do you want to help produce? I.e., hey, can you help us, get this off the ground and fundraise and bring in contacts? And then I said, well, is Ethan and is everybody going to be a part of it again? He's like, yeah. I'm like, that's the one regret I have is I didn't get to go to New Zealand. You
should have gone, man. Yeah, you definitely should have been there, man. You should have been there.
But that movie looks so cool.
It's beautiful, man. But yeah, like even that experience, Rolando, I have said it before, but it's been years, man. But thank you, man. That was one of the best experiences of my life. Honestly, man. Like it was not only was it just great people, it was just fun to be able to connect like American creatives and a team of New Zealand creatives mix us together. We made a rule that we had to bring some United States candy and we had to eat some New Zealand candy. So we had to trade. I always thought that was pretty funny, man.
That's awesome. Yeah, everything I heard, even from the DP that went down there and Mike, me staying connected to Mike the whole time. You guys had a great time. The visuals of that movie are just so incredible. It was one of the last. I have the posters of all the movies we've produced.
Yeah.
It was one of the last Vega production films,
Yeah, man.
under the banner of Vega Productions, and just incredibly shot. What was it like donning the suit again? That armored suit.
Yeah. So Mike, I forgot who you guys found. I forgot who made it. It was like a composite suit, but it was actually really comfortable. It was warm, it was padded, and it was, I don't know, man, just walking around in the New Zealand backdrop dressed as a super soldier. It's not a bad day.
Yeah.
Not a bad day.
And those visuals, man, every time because I sometimes show people like, hey, you want to see some films I've
check
done?
This out. Yeah. No, it's great, man.
And
it's great.
because a lot of people don't know me like that anymore.
Gotcha.
And we show some of those panning, like just shots and drone shots of like these New Zealand visuals that you associate automatically with like Lord of the Rings. And,
yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh,
it.
I can't believe we shot in those same mountains and valleys.
Beautiful,
so I can't believe you were there and you got to do it. So, but
no, I really appreciate it, man. Like and it's just like, even still, man, like the people that you meet, like we're still buddies with all the New Zealanders on like Facebook and stuff like that. You know what I mean? They're just really good people. And it's even funny. Like I remember shooting a scene. I'm in my robot suit. We got, there's 3 of us pushing through like this wooded area. So we have the cameras in a van. They're driving alongside as our like dolly following. And I can't see anything because I look kind of like the Mandalorian a little bit.
Yeah,
but it's all fogged over.
We're not supposed to talk about that because that could be.
I mean, not the Mandalorian, but like something. No. Right.
For the record, those concept arts, were created long before Din Djarin graced the screen.
Correct.
And Grogu and everything. But continue.
Right.
Yeah,
So disregard what I just said, but yeah. Well, so walking in it because it's cold out, it's raining, so there's like that fog, but I'm warm, I'm sweating, so the visor inside of the helmet I can't see. There's a fan in there that would work for about 5 minutes before my sweat would just shut it out. I remember we're walking, I'm trying to look tough, we're going through the woods and that van's going, and all of a sudden I hear Aaron Falvey, the director, like, Ethan, where are you? And sure enough, man, I fell right into a hole, man. We're walking straight and I just disappeared into a hole. I'm like, whoa, I couldn't see anything. But it's just really funny, man. I could hear laughing from the van, like, wah, wah, wah.
My goodness. It's again, that feels like a whole lifetime ago.
Like, it really is, man. It really is.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll dust off the costume in the future. I don't know.
I think we should. I think I'll have to stretch a bit more probably, but yeah. We definitely should.
So after that, I'm just going to rattle off some,
go for
some credits here. Got like TV and film, Bounty Killer, Dead Silent, The Gifted, Raising Dion, Bluff City Law, Teenage Bounty Hunters. We're in the 2020s, and eventually I see this really big series that like made history in the Atlanta region. And I see your credit with 4 episodes in it.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah.
So tell us about that experience and how'd you get it?
Yeah. Well, so again, it's just getting the auditions. You kind of roll the dice, and there was a casting team that was in charge of The Walking Dead for a whole, I don't know if it was the whole season, but there's 11 seasons of that original show. And everybody knew it was the final season. They were winding down. They were talking about maybe doing spinoffs kind of a thing. And they were looking for the Reapers, which was like this band of kind of military roughneck guys that were still surviving and doing their thing. So I thought, okay, they're going to get a good handful of people. But all we had was, I think, 2 scenes with maybe 1 or 2 lines of dialogue, meaning all you have to say is, yes, sir. And scene. Oh, great. Now try it again and whatever. But so again, you roll the dice, do your audition, submit it in. I got the call, man. And I couldn't believe it because it really, like you said, that show has been on, I don't know, longer than we've known each other, I think, Rolando. You know
That
what I mean?
intellectual
Almost.
property is still ongoing in so many offshoots, right?
Yeah, and it's doing great, man.
Yeah.
And that, like, being a part of that was a finely oiled machine that had been going, because it was, people that I grew up watching on television. I got to sit in a chair next to him. I always say it was funny, like sitting next to Norman Reedus one day, and he's, this is me being name droppy or whatever, but it
No,
blows my mind,
do
man.
it for the clout, Ethan. Do it for the clout.
Well, I'm from a little teeny tiny town in Wyoming, man. Like, what am I doing sitting next to Norman Reedus? It's nuts to me. Will forever be. But yeah, he's on his phone, like they're doing some, checking emails, whatever. Jeffrey Dean Morgan comes in, Negan, and he comes in and starts like doing this to him. He's like, Norman Reedus gets upset. He's like, hey, man, what are you doing? He goes, these are my love punches, man. They're just playing around like, hey, that's Negan. That's Negan.
And they're all like super friends because they've been working together for years.
Yeah, they're like family, man. And that really feeds into it. Like, you could tell even like the camera guys, everybody, like you could tell they just hang out, and they've been hanging out for years and years and years. And just to be a part of that size of production and that has that lore about it, that has that following, was really interesting, man. Like, from that, not that it's the end all of things, but like I've met a lot of great people who are just fans of the show now, because I was on that show. Like, people draw pictures of our characters, and like a young lady, like I was at a convention, doing the autograph thing and signing, and she asked me to like sign my name so she could tattoo it. That's crazy to me.
Wow.
Which it's really neat though. Like, it's really like,
I love you, Ethan, but
honor.
I don't think I would tattoo your name on my body.
I get it. But yeah, no, just really cool, man. Like, the fact that show means so much to so many people, and that I got to be a part of it, man, was really, really interesting, and really, yeah, like exciting. And something that's kind of funny, man. So right when I started filming, that was right when the pandemic hit. So this is 2020. And we had to do the vaccinations and stuff, and it was kind of mandatory at the time to work. But it was really funny to be getting a vaccine for something that, like, nobody knows quite where it's going to go, on a show about something that happened where nobody knew, and now there's zombies. It was really funny to me, man. So
That's
I'm actually
I've never thought about it like that. And
really funny, man.
Even this virus at the time, we didn't know what it was like.
No clue.
Being
No clue.
so close to where I'm at in the Northeast, that it was a scary time. And it's like, do I want to watch a post-apocalyptic show about zombies right now? Yeah. I don't know.
Or maybe something that makes me smile. Maybe how about that? How about feel good? Yeah.
One of the things you talked about, and I've always wondered, did you get any insights in your time there about how important of a show Walking Dead is to a city like Atlanta? Because by the time you arrived there, I assume that whole thing was like a well-oiled machine, just like you said, a production, a city like of talent, but the amount of revenue that comes into that city because of that show, what are the stakes? What's the feeling that you get when you walk in there and notice, wow, this thing means a great deal to the people of Atlanta here?
Yeah, it's well, so where that shoots is a town called Sonoya, was kind of like the ground, like where the studio is and stuff like that. So from Atlanta to all of that surrounding area has been shot for, over a decade of this show. So you can definitely tell, like, people, like, there's restaurants where you go in and like people, like, it's all signed of all the people who visited here from the show. But financially, what I learned coming into it is that you cannot say one word about anything whatsoever to spoil any sort of anything, if that makes sense. Meaning, like, scripts that, like, I never got an entire script of the episode, so I didn't even know what was happening with my character. It was so hush hush, which is funny because I show up on set. Yes, I realize we're these Reaper guys. We're all kind of bad or good. Maybe we're good. We could be bad. Probably bad. I don't know, because I didn't get the thing. But it was interesting to kind of have to ask them, and they wouldn't be completely open with, like, well, this could be this could be that. So what I learned from an actor is that it just comes down to building your character and do what you got to do and get on the screen and hope that it lines up with what's going on. But then stepping outside of that, there's barriers where people are outside, like trying to take pictures and seeing where the location is and who's this, because they can get a shot and all this.
Really, because it's
man.
ongoing. It's not going away anytime soon from those studios outside of Atlanta and Georgia for the most part. So people can camp out. Whereas if you're doing a movie for several weeks or months, you can only get a little bit and it's gone. And
it disappears forever. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, the infrastructure wise, man. Yeah. I mean, it brought in so many different job opportunities for people, but also people to come and, like, the fan side of it, to visit the locations, to see the things. Like, it created almost like a museum approach for some of those places. So yeah, all around, man, like restaurants, everything grew, everything, man. Yeah.
So I'm going to go a little fast now on the rest of your credits. Yeah. Talk about Miss Marvel. What was that like?
Miss Marvel, again, that was kind of a hush hush kind of thing, because on the first day that Miss Marvel got to wear her actual uniform, like the first time she had it on, I was in a room hanging out with her and like her character family, and big top head honchos are in there, and we're all kind of looking like, what am I doing in this room? This is crazy to me. Again, little boy from Wyoming, just having a good time.
Did you ever meet Kevin Feige?
He was in the room, man. He was in there
with his hat. He
had his hat, had great shoes. He had I don't know what kind of Jordans they were, but yeah. But
that's incredible. Wow.
Nuts to me, man. But for that shows me how much time you can take to make one scene. Like they were using like Humvee trucks were on hydraulics to explode up out as Miss Marvel crashes down. So you get to see all the working parts of that, and just stunt teams, timing, hundreds of extras, and all of it comes down to one little moment. You know what I mean? And they will take the time, spend the money to get that moment.
Yeah.
So what I learned from that is that Marvel, that's why it costs so much to do that, because there's so many moving parts, but when they get it, and it looks great. But yeah, for me, I just learned how to geek out more about, I'm on a superhero show.
Oh, dude. And then you got to do the other side of that same coin on the DC side, Doom Patrol. Yeah. Okay. So, confession, I haven't watched Doom Patrol, but I got a text. My sister watched it, and she texted me, "Is that Ethan?"
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. So, you played this creepy, dark character. What's his name again?
It's Charles Forsyth. So he's
So talk a little bit about that role. What was that like?
Yeah, so that role started out as a co-star role. So it was just a one scene thing, again, which is just like kind of in for the day and out. And then I guess they liked what I was doing and saw that character could grow into something more. So then they called me back for another episode and expanded more and more. And my guy was the head of the Bureau of Normalcy, which is kind of like just a government faction who's doing things they should not be doing. And I was the head honcho of that. So I was just torturing superheroes, which is crazy, man. But really fun. Again, great people, like working with Matt Bomer and Matthew Zook, who plays he's one of the main superheroes. Matthew Zook was the character in costume. Matt Bomer was the character out of costume, and they're the same person. But getting to work with them and the whole team, being on sets in those types of settings, man, with like a extreme heat room, and then it's like a freezer, a sauna, I'm in a jail cell, but it's all like futuristic but vintage at the same time. And I get to hang out in a set that's the mansion where the Doom Patrol hangs out. It's crazy, man. It's nuts. But yeah, for the record, Doom Patrol was a great experience, and it's probably not for kids to watch. So enter at your own risk. There's some things that happen that are for adults only. I'll tell you that much. It's a great experience.
And is your character a part of doing those things?
I think it's more the Doom Patrol doing stuff. It's more of the maybe language. There's some heavy language, but my guy is definitely not doing nice things to people for sure.
Okay, so I mean, even to some of the names we've talked about, the properties we've talked about. At this point in your career, how are you feeling? From before you get on HBO, like, how are things moving fast now for you?
Yeah. So,
and are you still in Georgia this whole time at that moment?
Yeah, that was all Georgia, man. Yeah. So we moved to Georgia at the end of 2017, actually. Yeah, like September 2017. And then it really felt like this is it. Like literally the things that both Athena and I were getting, and all of our friends in our little acting community, people were on TV shows. People are being series regulars on shows. People are being lead stars in these things. And you could see the trajectory just climbing and climbing and climbing. And you can feel it, man. You can feel it. And then, yeah, pandemic hit, which is shifted for everybody. And then we had the like the strikes and things like that. So all of a sudden it's a readjustment because the whole everything shifted, which, you know, for everybody, of course. And then it's kind of like a reset. You got to figure out, okay, so everything kind of went away. So now what does that mean? And then you keep gearing back up and going and going and going. Lesser opportunities, and like even like with like theater and stuff, like kind of bigger names are taking theater roles. So you can't really do that as much. Like in this, I feel like I'm kind of like in the middle ground of like I get great opportunities, and I'm, you know, thankful for all of it, but it's definitely fewer and far between. So it's like a life adjustment of like, okay, well now we got to still, you know, you got to still live life and figure out, it can't just be all movies and TV. You know what I mean?
What did you, honestly, if you don't mind me asking, did you have to supplement your income, your lifestyle with like not cool menial work to like make things happen? Or did some of these projects help you kind of ride that wave?
Yeah. So at one point, man, it was actually going well that we didn't have to work, which is so crazy to me, man.
Wow.
It was nuts. Yeah. We're literally like working actors who were, we could just solely focus on acting, and then it kept like kind of going in that direction, man. But then, once it slowed down, you got to be like, okay, yeah.
Did you have any royalty stuff come in from like random shows that you had been on?
Yeah. The residuals that come in.
There's a guy on TikTok and on Instagram that shares like, here's what my residual from this random show I did years ago, and it's like 37 cents. You know, like
Yeah, like for you mentioned MacGyver, man. I still will get some that'll be like $2.
Oh,
it's just kind of funny. Like, all right.
You should frame them at that point.
Put them up on the wall, and But yeah, they still come in, man. And that was the thing with residuals, man. It's pretty exciting to know that the work that you do just doesn't go away. Like it still gets to come back, and then when you get a residual check that's decent, it's like, oh, people are still actually watching and enjoying the show. So that's kind of a neat side of it as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when it came to supplemental income, man, it definitely, waited tables forever. Like right now I'm doing like photography for real estate photography. So I'm walking all over with a camera and doing that kind of stuff. I'm working at like a hardware store and things like that. Like it's just really strange, man, to have like these, I wouldn't say it's ups and downs. It's just like
it's a combination of life experiences that vary greatly.
Yeah. But it is, I think a difficult part about acting is the perseverance, man. It really is. I think with anybody that's, if you want to do something that you believe in, I mean, like this, man, like even like you have to take the time to set up this podcast. You have to take the time to produce it, to make it right, to make it what you want to be, man. It's exciting. It's scary. I'm pumped that you're doing it. How do you feel, man? How do you feel about setting it up and diving in? It's wonderful.
It's
man.
Part of that whole kind of idea of been doing this for a long time, this career. And I'm thinking, do I need to do this? Or like, and I reduced it down to, it's not a business decision. Yeah. Everybody needs content. And if you're watching this, it's probably because I put a little clip on LinkedIn and, cause I want you to see it, but it's more of like I'm going to connect it back to something you said.
Sure.
And it's at some point I looked in my network, and I don't know if it was like 1 or 2, 3 years ago. And I looked to my left and I looked to my right, and I saw these amazing people that I met along the way, whether I met them 10 years ago, 12 years ago, 5 years ago, they were all in their stages of persevering like you are. Staying connected to them, I have seen them either drill down into their specialty to become just super talented in what they do, or have such a combination of life experiences that makes their story really interesting. And honestly, when I was thinking of my short list, I was like, I got to get Ethan on here.
Because, I appreciate it, man.
Because I don't know. I mean, I'm a big movie guy, so like your story, I'm gonna just gravitate to because, oh, what was it like to work across Bradley Cooper? And we're gonna talk about that in a second.
Sure,
You know,
sure. Yeah,
but
yeah.
I just feel like there's also a realism to uh the ups and the downs, and they don't have to be downs. They're just different. That we're all trying to make a living, first of all, to like feed our families, feed
Yeah, you
ourselves.
got to do that.
Yeah,
Gotta do
and if you're in a city like you are today in New York,
that. New York right now.
yeah. And so wherever you are, you're going to try to figure out how do I live here? How do I survive? And then how do I, pursue the thing I want to do and still survive? And how do I self-actualize as a person? Am I, safe and confident in my identity of who I am and all these things? And ultimately, I looked around me and I saw these amazing people pursuing their careers, and I thought, oh, let me just start a podcast with really interesting people and have it be very conversational like this. And it happens to be that first episode was a voiceover artist. Second episode was a composer. Now you're,
Cool,
you're an actor. I might have like leaders and people from higher education space and all these people that I've met along the way.
Walks of life, man. Walks of life doing, like you said, doing what they do best.
But ultimately, it's about perspective, and it's about realizing that our stories are unfolding in different ways. And it's nice to just sometimes not compare, but get perspective, because
I like that, man.
Ultimately, your story I'm hearing is success and perseverance, because it's like your next big thing could be right around the corner, but you don't know it. And it's past like 4 failures. And but it's more about, I'm more interested in the guy who keeps saying yes to it every single day and just opens himself up to possibilities because of the attitude that you have, the approach you have to people. I think that's really interesting, because I don't think if other people were in your shoes, I don't think they would come out of it the way you have.
No, I appreciate it, man. Yeah. Thanks, man.
So tell me about post-COVID.
Yeah.
How'd you end up getting, the Righteous Gemstones gig?
Yeah. All right. So again, it was like, so post-COVID, then we had like the writer strike and the SAG strike and all that stuff. So everything shifted around and everybody was kind of wondering what's going on. I feel like it always kind of brings down the conversation, like, what are we going to do? Like, what are we doing with our life? But the Righteous Gemstones they hadn't announced that it was going to be the last season yet. I think they were just looking to do it, but they were looking for a Civil War, like casting an entire Civil War episode, which is really funny, man. If you've seen the show, it has nothing to do with the Civil War at all. So that was like, oh, interesting. But again, they go out to all the actors in Atlanta and surrounding Southeast, and they say, well, all right, we need people who, could fit the part, but we're going to cast, man, I don't know, probably 12, I think it was like 12 roles to fill these different like vignettes that the main character would be walking through.
And just for the record, it's like the past is like the ancestor of the main character, that they're telling the backstory of how these guys got to inspired by the calling of
how it all began. Yeah. So the episode's called Prelude. So it's a prelude to the Gemstone family. And I auditioned for, I think, 3 roles. I auditioned for 3 of them. One was in the episode, the very beginning, there's a priest guy who is played by the guy from The Walking Dead, who played Eugene in The Walking Dead. And so it's funny to see like who they cast and what roles. I played for another one that was just a guy that dies real quick, and then the captain guy that I wound up booking. But when I got it, I was geeking out because I've been a Danny McBride fan. I like his comedy, man. He just does a good job of being that bad guy. So just that alone, I thought, okay. But again, they don't give you the whole information of like who you're working with, who's the lead person. But I knew it had to be somebody big, because the whole episode, like, this is the beginning of the Gemstone legacy and all that stuff. So on set, hush hush, nobody knows what it is. So on the call sheet, when you get a call sheet, it says, these are your directors, here's like what the weather's going to be, here's the other actors you'll be in your scenes, here's the setup scene, whatever. The top of the list, the number 1 on the call sheet, is always like the lead star. all it had was the character name. So again, like being the actor, like, ooh, it's somebody big. And they're not going to put their name because what if like paparazzi gets it and they say, look who's going to be in this, and it spoils it. So again, real hush hush. One of the other guys playing the soldier that's in the scene with me, he came up to me and goes, hey, do you know who it is? I said, no. I said, who is it? He goes, I can't say. All I'm going to say is that he directed a little Netflix movie called Maestro. I said, get out of here. So he and I, two full grown men, be like, oh, what? It's going to be Bradley Cooper? It was nuts, man. But so, yeah, hush hush. Nobody knew anything. We go on set, or on location. We're in Wilmington, South Carolina. And we're in this field. They have an entire cabin that set design built that they burned to the ground. So it's like smoldering, and they have a gigantic like Gatling gun. They have, I don't know, hundreds of extras, like all in uniform, Civil War uniform, horses, people walking around, bodies laying around. It was really, really crazy. Like I feel like they shot pretty much a gigantic Civil War feature film in the span of 6 days. It was like, I think all the shoot was, or 8 days or something like that. Anyways, the director was Danny McBride. So I'm already geeking out that I'm going to get to meet Danny McBride. And now they say that Bradley Cooper's going to be in it. The rumor has it. But we show up on set and you can tell all the guys are kind of giddy because there's Bradley Cooper. Like, we're guys, we made it. We made it. We're working with Bradley Cooper. Real nice guy, man. He just really, really locked in, really focused on his character, like cares about where the story's going, why every actor's doing what they're doing. Danny McBride was very, very friendly, man. Like he was joking around. Like I thought we were going to get fired, man. Me and two of the other Civil War guys, we're not supposed to take any photos. But of course we're like, okay, guys, let's come over here and let's take a photo. Stupid. But we did. We took a photo, and sure enough, here comes Danny McBride out of Video Village, come walking over. I thought, oh, no, we're going to get fired. But he comes in, hey, guys, how's it going? Good to see you. I'm glad you're here. It's going to be a lot of fun. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, he's cool. He's a great guy. But experience-wise, man, yeah, like I feel like the level that those guys are working at is like kind of the tip top of it all, man. I mean, and to be toe-to-toe with Bradley Cooper was a learning experience, man. Like I like to see how focused that he was on making it right for the character, and how Danny McBride was like folding that in, because I think being a journeyman actor who's in and out of these different scenes and in and out of these different projects, something that I feel like I've never really had that time where I can like fully commit to a character and be like, I am this. Not that you have to be like method or whatever, but like to be able to take that time to be as focused as possible on a character.
Yeah.
I never, does that make sense?
No, I get
know.
it.
I don't take that time, I guess.
To be able to actually live in the character and explore what could be, especially if you have a reoccurring, scenes or episodes.
Yeah.
So you got a chance to explore that for even just for that one prelude episode.
Yeah, to explore that, but more like to learn, just to learn from Bradley Cooper's approach towards it as well. Just meaning like
you saw his approach to his character and you learned like what to take.
Correct. Yeah. They're like, oh, okay, I could utilize that just like in further projects. But
dude, that's those like priceless little nuggets of information that you wouldn't have gotten unless you started across, someone like Bradley Cooper. Like if you had gone, acting school, maybe you could pick those up, but
but again, man, and it's also like to feel kind of like that pressure of like, okay, HBO show, an entire Civil War set with entire moving pieces where, like at the end of our little exchange, I ride away on horseback. I mean, we have on the set, man, there was hundreds of extras behind me that all march behind me. So if I mess up my line, we have to reset everything. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
But it's in the best way though. It's like, well, this is what we're here for. You work to a certain level, and when you get an opportunity, hopefully you hit it. If you don't, that's all right. Dust it off. You'll get it next time, possibly. If you do get it, great. It's wonderful.
So where are things today? How are things looking for you? What we missed this in the kind of transition. what led you to New York?
Yeah, well, so my wife she's always kind of wanted to do stand-up comedy, man. Athena, she's always been very,
She's
very funny.
hilarious. Yeah.
She is hilarious, man. And she's kind of had an itch to do it, and she thought, well, let's if we're gonna go somewhere to make that happen, I think New York's the spot to be. So we went ahead and we shifted gears, man. And it was good timing because things were shifting in Atlanta. It felt like a little bit, all the things were slowing down, and it's that moment to be like, well, if we're gonna make a change, let's do it now because it's a good time to do it. And it's I think in Atlanta, it was just almost too quiet. Like it reminds me of Wyoming a bit too much, which is great. Like if you're ready to settle down and do that, but we're still kind of going. So we thought, well, why not go into the biggest, most busiest place in the whole world almost, and here we are, man. We're in New York figuring it out. It's cool.
And if you were to guess what is potentially coming down the pipeline in terms of the relationships you've built and the opportunities you're looking at right now, what does 2026 look like for you?
I'm very optimistic, man. I have signed with a new manager. I got my agents in Atlanta. They're still working hard. Like from a creative standpoint and work-wise, I think it's going to be a wonderful year, man. I think that there's opportunities that have already kind of come my way that if those are the opportunities that I'm getting at this early in the year, then I think it's going to be a great year, man. And in terms of life, I walk so much more in New York City than I ever have in my life, man. So I actually feel better. You know what I mean? Like I feel as a whole. We have a little dog, so it's funny to get the dog out. In Georgia, the dog can run and play in the fields forever. But here, he's got to survive the streets of New York City, baby. But it's fun, man. It's fun to get to walk around and the accessibility of the city. And I think there's a lot of nice opportunity, man.
Yeah, different energy for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so
it takes a bit. We have a 5-story walk up we got to walk up, man. There's no elevator, so I thought I'd get used to it and get strong. No, I just get angry. Just kidding.
So as we look to wrap up this conversation, I'd like always to kind of take a step back and look at, your entire career up until now, and that's still unfolding. What would you say is like a major lesson or kind of takeaway that you have learned or just that's materialized for you? Like major 1 or 2 lessons that maybe you could even share with a version of your younger self.
Yeah. So I think a big lesson that I've learned through it all is it's important to make sure that you are keeping your head on straight, if that makes sense. Like the idea of like, because for a moment it only became like, got to get that gig, got to get acting, film, TV. But then you kind of like let things around you kind of fall off the wayside, which isn't good, man. Like health and stuff like that. You gotta take care of yourself, man. And I think so. Like looking back when I was younger, I was always trying to. It's kind of like that people pleaser kind of thing. Like I was always felt like I needed to do the right thing. So that's like even like for my education, man. I went to, got my degree in something I just threw out the window. Like why didn't I go, if I knew what I wanted to do, why not just believe in what I feel and try for it? You know what I mean? So that was a big lesson. So like now that I've, I guess, kind of refocused and repurposed life towards like, I know what I want to do and I know some avenues I'd like to try. And I know that I'm a creative. So it's as long as I can fulfill that while still maintaining my health and maintaining life moving forward and, hopefully have much more good days than bad. And I think that that's the most important thing, man. Just surround yourself with good people and like make sure that you have a good time in life while you can, I guess, like find a way to be able to relax and be healthy.
Yeah, no,
I
think I heard you saying basically like you were going to be more true to yourself. I think if moving forward and that it's okay to pursue something that you're passionate about. So let's say 5-10 years from now, you're really doing it. You're doing the thing, and it's not so much project to project anymore. You have stability, you have relationships, you got a great manager, an agent. You feel like you have a vision of success in your mind. What do you hope is still true about yourself as an actor and as a person, even in that vision of success? What doesn't change?
Yeah, I think what doesn't change for me would, I still like the idea of showing up somewhere and being excited to be with the people who are around me, if that makes sense. I think if, like on the flip side of that, if you go into a room and you don't feel comfortable and you don't feel right and you know something's off, get out of there. So that's what I look forward to. I want to be able to, I mean, like this, man, like you and I haven't talked in over a decade, man. And the fact that, you reach out, man, we can still hang out and you take the time to do it, man. I really appreciate it, man. So it's like, it's things like this, being able to, you're saying connections. Yeah, connections with people that you actually care about, man, and have a good time, and common thread of just like, hey, you're a good person, I'm a good person. Let's hang out. You know what I mean? Like that that kind of feel is what I think.
Yeah.
So regardless of clout and all that.
Yeah, because there is always a threat there of like success creating those kind of barriers for genuine connection in the future, or do people want something from me, or do you have enough margin to actually have people in your life if you're busy or your attention is needed elsewhere? I always wonder how these celebrities actually have relationships that are healthy with like normal everyday people when they're in that limelight of like, can they be themselves truly? I hope, and I hope you never have that problem where you feel like you can't be yourself.
Yeah.
It's yourself that's gotten you to where you are today.
Yeah. I think it's funny, man. Like you said, like I imagine, pick anybody anybody in the world can recognize if they walk into a grocery store, what that creates for everybody there. It's really strange, man. And they're just there to shop. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, the story is ongoing, and I just love the fact that we caught up after a decade. Getting a chance to hear the ups and the downs, and that ultimately, like, there's so much potential here. And maybe we'll revisit it,
Let's do it. Yeah.
If you have time on your schedule, because I'm sure you will be like busy because you'll be more famous and stuff. But
it'll happen.
In the meantime, thanks again, Ethan. Thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it too, man. Just the fact of being a part of something that you're putting the time and the effort to brighten people's days, man. It's a big deal. So thank you, man.
Absolutely. All right. This is The Power of Human Stories. See you next time.
You've been listening to The Power of Human Stories. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who might appreciate it. Visit powerofhumanstories.com for more.